guys, how you going? Today's just a quick episode. We've got the Jayco here in the front yard, all hitched up. We're just heading down to Dan's Automotive in Toowoomba. Just going to get the couple of things looked at on the van in relation to the sway bar, sway control or whatever it's called, stability control. Dan's just got to do a feed up a wire or something there for that, and we've got to do the knuckle on the Prado, so that's on the passenger side front, where I did a bit of a bend to it when I went full wheeling with Ruben. So we're just heading down there now. I've got the Caravan in tow. I've just got to make sure I put these leads back on, and I'm going to get Dan a cup of tea as well, sweeten the deal. So we'll get going and head down there. So just ducking into brewed coffee, Brook Street, Toowoomba, and got coffee and some cup of tea ready for Dan. Well, he works on the Caravan though. There we go. So look at this Caravan. Yes. Got a bit of brewed coffee into you, eh? Look at this. Go to see Lockie at brewed coffee. Comes the man. First things first. First things first, mate. Cup of tea.
Thank you.
There you go.
It was a clear car park, and then I walk out the back and come out here, and it's not a clear car.
Oh no.
What I was going to say to do is, if you want to do a loop and then back it into that slot there.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'll guide you back, and
Yeah. All right.
if we can.
So you want me to come in this way?
Yeah. So if you just do a loop. Yeah, and then come back in this way.
Yep, okay, sure.
And then back it into there.
Guys, I'm here with Dan. It's knuckle time. So the correct knuckle arrived, mate.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's knuckle time again. Now you wouldn't actually believe it.
I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to be an expert on this now, and I've watched you do it a few times.
We're not going to mention any names about where we've been purchasing these from, but all I'm going to say is this is now number 4 that's actually arrived, and it's finally the correct one. And this is going to, we'll just put this up here.
How many Ks do you reckon that one's done?
Under 100, I think they told me. Is
So again, we're using the same bearing in there.
So I just want to, just in case anyone ever runs into this again, and this, I learnt something, and so did the wrecking yard that I got this from. This is the issue right here. Your earlier 120 series and early 150 series Prados have an M12 bolt to bolt the caliper onto the knuckle here. Anything from 05 15 onwards, so 5th month 15 onwards, runs a 14mm or an M14 bolt to bolt the caliper. So the 3 that we got prior to this had an M12. So I tried to describe and tell them what the situation was, and then finally we ended up with this one that had the correct sized bolt holes. So if you ever get into the situation where you need to replace a knuckle on a 15 or 2015 model Prado, if it is 05, so 5th month 15 or before, it runs an M12. If it is 5th month 15 onwards, it runs an M14 for the brake caliper. Don't get caught out like we did.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh well, it's finally here.
3 goes, honestly. I was like, please measure.
Oh no.
Anyway, so we got the right one. This is going to bolt in, and yeah, again, I don't know if this car's been off-road much. Doesn't look like it.
Yep.
But yeah.
Well, it's certainly straight around here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's straight to there. It's straight to there.
Well, now I've got new suspension now. I'm not going to have that issue again, am I?
No, it'll soak up the bumps, and like I say, you shouldn't be bottoming out like you were before. This suspension should should hold up a lot better. Not to mention you've got a bit more travel there as well with the slightly longer shocks. So yeah.
That's the caliper.
Yeah. So this was the problem here, was where this actually bolted on. So the earlier 150s and 120 series have an M12 here. These bolt on with an M14, so they've got a slightly larger brake caliper on them. And I think that honestly was in preparation for the higher towing capacity of the current model Prados, because they've gone up to a 3-ton towing now. So, whereas before they weren't.
We came across that the hard way.
Yeah. So yours is actually set up with the later model stuff in it, because I think we've worked out that yours is actually a 5th month 15, which is right on the break point.
Right,
so,
yeah. Well, they say the last of the 3 litres.
The very, very last, literally the last of the 1KDs, yeah.
And when I did buy this car, I fluked that, because back then I didn't know much about it. Certainly not as much as I know now.
The very, very last of them.
So now, Dan, you decided that you were going to take out the bearing out of that?
Yeah, we're going to change the unit bearings over.
Put one of the old ones in?
Yeah, you're just going to put your one on there, because this one's got just a little bit of a notch to it there, and I don't know whether it's been sitting for a while or something, but we're not going to risk it putting it in there and having it be noisy, or whatever the case may be, so we're just going to put your one on. Whether I with this thing, whether I bought it or I wanted it without the bearing or not, they said that's how it comes, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll take these off. Anyone whoever's done these before, these aren't the nicest bearing to actually press in and out. Not that we're doing that, but even to get them on and off, you kind of got to get the bolts all wound off and then pull it off and put all the bolts in before you get it back in there. So we're just going to sit in the vise and do that. Yeah.
So you're going to take those big bolts off?
So you're going to take these off. So there's 4 of those, and there's a little kind of recess here that you can get a spanner into.
So this could be an instructional video on how to change wheel bearings.
It could be. These are, when the very early KUN 26s and 120 series Prados came out, and they had this solid unit bearing on there. When the bearings were failing, they didn't actually have a complete hub assembly like this. You had to press the bearings in and out, and they were a horrible, horrible job. I actually did end up making a little fitting to go in the press to press these and everything. But anyway, as the years went on, they then developed a complete hub assembly, so you could literally just take these 4 bolts off, remove it, put the new one on, bolt it back in, which is a massive time-saving thing. So that's basically how we do them now. Is we just buy the complete hub assembly.
So this whole thing.
Yeah.
You take that off the old one.
Yes, you'll see. So when I actually take these 4 bolts out, right? Just a stuck in there now. When I take these 4 bolts out, this whole hub assembly will come away.
So you're not actually pressing.
You're not actually pressing the bearing out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. So that's how I buy them now. It's like that. It's purely just a time-saving thing, and honestly, when you work out the cost of the whole bearing and hub assembly as opposed to just buying the bearing and pressing it in and out, it's actually cheaper to buy them as a complete assembled
and
unit.
Start ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And normally you do this still on the vehicle, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you can do it still on the vehicle. Yep.
But in our case, because we're changing the knuckle.
We're changing the knuckle, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually I do these on vehicle, and they're very, very simple to do. Anyone can do it. You don't have to have specialised equipment to do this, which is the main thing.
What size are we looking at? What size are
They're a 17 mil
17,
head on these bolts, yeah.
Okay.
The bolt doesn't fully come out. You can't get it past the actual flange of the hub there. So they have to stay in, right? So you have to remove all 4 of them first, and they stay in there. They can't come with it. And that was one of the main reasons why we had trouble with actually getting these things in a press, is because you couldn't get in there that well with these bolts in the way. But I say, anyway, that's all changed now, because we can actually buy the whole fully assembled hub. Yeah.
Is it best to go genuine, Dan, when you do this?
Oh look, I've been using aftermarket ones that are made by a company called GSP or Double ADI, and they're brilliant. They're actually better than the genuine ones, I feel. They're a pretty robust unit, yeah. Just like that, right? That's how they come off. So that's what you buy, is you buy this whole bearing and hub assembly. As I say, before, what we had to do is actually hold this section of the bearing housing in the press and press the bearing through, they were a bit of a nightmare, really. Well, you could press the actual hub flange off quite easily, but yeah, kind of getting it in there to press the bearing out and press a new one in was not the nicest thing to do. There was not much way of actually getting a good purchase on this here, so I ended up making a little jig that I could bolt these to. But by the time you stuff around with it, and then when they brought these out as a whole unit, I was like, oh, it's just a no-brainer. You just buy the whole thing and away you go. And the beauty of it is you get new bolts, you get a new bearing housing, you get a new hub flange, new wheel studs,
yeah, right.
A whole lot.
And you're saying mine's fine, that's fine, that's come out, isn't it?
This is the new second-hand one, yeah. But I say there was just a little bit of a notch there. I can just feel, so I don't want to risk it. We know yours is good. We've tried it, so this one can
the other way, so
go to the scrap metal pile. Yeah, and then we'll put your one in here. Yeah, just with these as well, with the backing plates. Right, just give this a bit of a clean up. There is a big dust seal that goes in there. Just make sure that stays in place, because otherwise you'll get mud and water and dirt that will wash into here, and it will foul up where your ABS sensor actually goes in onto the internal reluctor wheel there, or tone wheel.
So where's that?
This seal here, yeah, so that has to stay in place, and then your backing plate's got to go in. There's 2 little indents here, some little knobs there that kind of push in to locate it. Only fits in one way. Yep.
Nice.
Right,
so this is the second-hand new one, isn't
so this
it?
is this is the non-bent knuckle.
Okay. So this is an instructional video on 2 things: how to replace the knuckle, and also how to replace wheel bearings on the front.
So we're just going to explain why we're using a second-hand one for starters.
Yep.
They're quite expensive, brand new.
Yep.
And also as well, they weren't too plentiful at the time when I wanted to get one. So the left-hand side, we were going to wait a little bit of time to get a new one, but the second-hand one was literally about half the price.
Yep.
So that's the reason why we're going second-hand. It was literally half the price. There was absolutely nothing wrong with this knuckle whatsoever. It's had very light use, yeah, you'd already kind of spent a fair bit on the Prado, so every little saving can kind of count with these things. So there's nothing wrong with using a second-hand one.
Well, for something like that anyway.
Yeah, well, there's lots of things that I won't use second-hand, but for something like that, it's as good as a new one anyway, really, isn't it? Just a cast piece of metal. So Right, so this is your original unit bearing that we're going to put into the new hub.
What would you be checking for to make sure that basically that's all right to continue using, as opposed to, you know, while it's out buying a new one?
Well, for one, if it's going to start to fail, you'll get movement or play in the bearing itself, or you'll hear some noises through the vehicle while driving. But if you turn them fairly slowly and have a bit of a feel of it, it's nice and smooth, you don't feel any little notches, it doesn't feel like gravelly, anything like that, then you're usually perfectly fine to continue the use of it. But that other one, I could feel a little bit of a notch there, but this one's nice and smooth. So
the area's alright inside there?
Yeah, the spline and everything's perfectly fine. So we're just going to make sure the O-ring is on there. There is an O-ring.
Is that grease or?
That's anti-seize.
Ah, right.
Yeah, that's to stop the spline seizing on the CV shaft, so into there. So there's an O-ring there, that's to the go on, because then that seals it in from this side. And yeah, you simply just lower it in. A little bit of a tap with the hammer, around, a little bit of persuasion. Just like that. Right. I just got to sort out. So with these, you've got to kind of get the bolts started by a couple of threads before you push it right the way down. Make sure it spins freely. Now we can do them up.
And that's the wheel bearing pretty much changed.
Yeah, they're very simple. I do actually recommend that if you go on a pretty big trip, you're going to do a lot of off-roading, buy one of these and take it with you, because they're the same on both sides. If you ever did happen to damage a wheel bearing, as you can see, that's quite easy to do at the side of the road.
Yeah.
You literally caliper off, rotor off, take off the CV nut, and off it comes. Pretty simple. You can change that at the side of the road quite easy. Not to mention carrying a spare CV shaft as well, just in case you break that too.
If you go to Cape York, spare alternator.
Spare alternator?
For the Prado.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going through water. All done, eh?
Yep, so that's in there. Just give us a quick clean out of the back.
So as a bit of a rule, Dan, is there a time where you just change them anyway with new ones? Like 250, 300, 400,000 Ks?
Look, most of them seem to go around about that 2 to 250,000 K range. If it was mine, when it hit it kind of its 200,000 mark, especially if I was running larger tyres and did use it for a bit off-road at 200,000, I'd probably swap them out anyway. Yeah. It seems most of them go around, like I say, around about that 200 to 250,000. It's always the left-hand front that goes first.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
but in this case, mine's doing fine.
Yours has been pretty good, which is surprising.
Yeah.
but it's pretty good. Yeah.
So that's something I'll have to think about, because mine's on the 240 mark.
Yeah, well,
20 or 30,000 k's, mate. Maybe.
I don't know. This one does feel really good. There's no movement or anything in it, so I think you might have one of the freak ones. So we're just putting.
At least I know what to do, mate. Instead of changing motor.
Yeah, very, very simple. We're just putting the. There's one thing I always remove the ABS sensor or the wheel speed sensor when you're doing anything, because if you break this, if you break this, it's going to cause you a lot of grief, because you can't just pick them up from anywhere, and you'll have an ABS and traction control light on the dash, and your car won't want to do
Computer won't like it.
many things. So just get that out the way. It's 110mm. Before you do anything, remove that. Get it out the way. Yeah. Okay.
So I just put them back together now, do you?
Pretty much, just a reverse of what we did. So usually I start with the two bottom bolts for the lower ball joint bracket.
Yep.
And then we just kind of leave that loose for the moment, and then we'll slide the top ball joint in.
Obviously, if you weren't doing a knuckle, you wouldn't have to do this part of it. You'd just be working from in here, wouldn't you?
Yes, that's right. So literally, the point you'd be at is kind of where we're at now. You wouldn't remove any of this.
No.
You just remove your brake caliper, your rotor, the nut that holds the end of the CV on the spline into the hub, and then undo those 4 bolts, and off it comes.
And then take the ABS braking off. The sensor,
Yeah, I do recommend removing that. Like it shouldn't hit it, but you just don't want to damage it potentially. Anything, yeah.
Kind of whack a hammer or something.
Just like I say, you wouldn't want to be at the side of the road and go, oh, that's great, done my hub assembly that's on there, and pull away and you've got an ABS fault light on because it happened to just touch it in the wrong way and damage it. So yeah, I always remove those. Whenever I'm doing anything that's associated with or around that, I just get it out the way, because like I say, you can't just walk into anywhere and buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll throw this over here.
So, for someone like me, it's a Loctite. You don't need Loctite in there. It's on the shaft back further is the best place for it.
No, so that we've put anti-seize in there to stop the. We're not going to.
That's why you're doing this job, mate, not me.
Anti-seize or a little bit of grease, like some graphite grease or something on the splines. Just if these splines rust or seize inside of here, they can be really, really difficult to get out. So we just make sure that they're lubricated with something. Okay. This actually here has got a castle style locking tab which goes on the end there, and then a split pin goes through it so it can't wind its way off. But if you torque these down enough, they shouldn't come off. No. That's alright, it'll work its way out. Sensor cable behind me.
These magic nuts.
It's funny that when you get the right one, it bolts up. And this is the point we got to last time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went to put the brake on, or brake caliper on, and I thought, what's going on here? I can't get these bolts in. Well, they were never going to go in. They were 2 mil bigger than the hole that they're trying to go into. Right, okay.
Now, I've got a question for you, Dan, for those at home. Now, I've seen many different ways of getting this off, the cap off.
Yeah.
You're at home with trying to get that off. What's the best way?
I usually a little screwdriver or a chisel in there. So long as you, like this one, we've put a little bit of a bend in it there, but so long as you make sure that you open out, if you do bend where it's actually seals up on the inside, just open it back out so it fits in there fine. But yeah, you can get a little screwdriver in behind these. Sometimes they become incredibly stuck and you've got no choice but to kind of give them a decent tap to get them off. Yeah. But yeah.
And then obviously a plastic mallet to
pop them back in. Rubber mallet.
Trick.
Yep.
Today's trick for getting the caps off, mate.
Yeah. I say I won't worry too much about how you get these off, as long as you don't completely buckle them, and they do need to be back on there. You don't really want to leave them off.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps all the water out and bad stuff.
Yeah.
Bad stuff,
yeah, that's right.
One new knuckle, Dan.
Yeah.
Better than the other one. In better condition than the other one.
That's right. So yeah, after this, obviously, the wheel alignment has to be redone. Because it's going to have a bit of positive camber now. Because everything's back to where it should have been.
Should have been, yeah.
The lower arm was adjusted accordingly to compensate for the bend last time. So yeah, we haven't got too much to go now. We've just got to connect up the wiring for the ABS sensor.
So leaving this till last, it just gives you a bit more room.
Yeah, just so you can move this around without having to fight the steering. That's all. Yeah, that's why I take this off out the way, so you can move the actual hub and the knuckle around easily.
She's all done, hey? Go back together, mate. Just like a newborn.
Just like a new one.
Beautiful.
So we'll get the wheel on, and then we're going to adjust your rear panhard rod, because as the suspension would have settled a bit, you've had the van on the back, you've had it loaded up, it would have settled a little bit from when we first installed it, so we're just going to readjust that to make sure that your rear diff is centered. It's just part of the suspension setup, really. When you run them in for 1,000 kilometers, everything settles a little bit, so you do have to readjust things. Which in a lot of cases with some of the vehicles I set up, I actually get the initial wheel alignment done, and then I do another wheel alignment a couple of months or so down the track, just to make sure that they are still, perfectly straight and aligned. But it's important to do the rear. The rear usually settles a bit more than the front, so you need to adjust that panhard rod to get it perfect again. Yeah.
And then we'll move on. We've got the Caravan here too, mate.
Got the Caravan to do a bit of wiring on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you reckon about the Jayco Crosstrak, mate? What do you reckon?
I'm pretty impressed with it. It's a nice little van.
You were quite liking it, weren't you?
Yeah, it's a nice little van. I was just having a look at the finish on it, and certainly better than some of the overseas ones that I've. Not to say that there's not bits and pieces that are made overseas on all of them, but some of the ones that are kind of predominantly made over there, they leave a little bit to be desired. So yeah.
And I've conned you into another little job. Because I'm a bit short on the 12 volt plugs, mate.
Yeah, so we're going to put a couple of 12 volt accessory sockets in there, which is nice and simple.
I've got to make the most of when I can.
Yeah.
Get a few extra little bits and pieces though.
Yeah, that's right. But,
anyway, I'll get you to check the red arc tape out. I'll just make sure it's on. Now, Dan.
Yeah.
They say you got to look after your mechanic. So do you reckon that succeeded? You wouldn't normally have morning tea like this, would you, mate?
I don't usually have morning tea. Sometimes I'm flat out having lunch.
Look at this, eh? Well, we got scones and butter and coffee, tea bags, mate. What more can you want for?
I feel
morning tea's about the right time too.
I feel spoiled actually.
Oh mate, well.
It's a good thing it's a Friday because then I'm not going to have to look forward to anything tomorrow. So.
Very good, mate. Well, you better get stuck into it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while you can.
Just sit it in the microwave. Oh, so I'll just sit it like. Push the car towards
What did I buy here, Dan? I bought a...
You bought a 12-volt accessory and a merit.
Lucky I didn't buy 2 mirrors.
Yeah.
That'll teach me not to read things properly.
Now the advantage that you get with mine is that you get a little blue LED in there.
Ah!
So that you can see it in the dark. And you know that it's powered up as well.
Nice, nice.
So we're going to add this one into yours.
It's always going to be powered up when the power's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, mate.
I actually ended up having 3 of these upstairs. I didn't even think I had one of them, just the inserts.
See, because of me, mate, you went to do a stock check.
I did.
Stock take, and now you know what you got.
I now know what I have.
So what are we're just going to put that in somewhere in here, wherever it goes on that board, wherever it's
wherever's going to be.
We're going to try and
spot.
Plug in that thing.
Yeah, so we're going to go into the main junction there, and we're just going to. There's actually some fuses that aren't being allocated to anything there, so we're going to check that there's power, and if there is, we'll pinch one.
Use that. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, put it like that. It's a bit different to your one, but so there's a little blue LED in there.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll go get my pliers. I can't get my fingers in.
Where do they come in from the other end, do they? Other side?
What's
Where
that?
the screw holes are.
Yeah, so you go like that.
Oh, in there's a hole, yeah.
Onto
Perfect,
there.
that's what we want, yeah.
So we go and get some pliers.
So, under the seat here, we've got, where are all the power box, the power junction. So the projector has the solar and the 240 volts as well coming in, and over here we've got the BC-DC charger, which is also a projector, so that charges the battery when the car's running. And we're going to throw a couple of SIGs in here, somewhere along here, enough room underneath that seat. There we go, Dan's back. So the Jayco Crosstrak, mate, might look pretty good on the back of your Jeep. What do you reckon? On the Rubicon?
Well, I don't even have a tow bar on that thing yet, and I never had the intentions of putting a tow bar on it because I've got a nice Land Cruiser at home for the towing and stuff. But I don't know. My wife keeps going on about putting a tow bar on the back, and I'll be honest, they're not a great tow vehicle, and I never bought the thing for towing. And with a tow bar hanging down at the back, you do kind of, unfortunately, reduce your departure angle a fair bit. But
Well, I've got the plan, mate. What you do, take 2 cars, you tow the Jayco base camp.
Yeah.
Okay, and so your missus and the family can have the luxuries. And
That's
then
right.
you go off in the Rubicon, mate, doing some wheeling.
Well, that is actually her car, that Rubicon. So.
Oh.
That's not going to wash quite so easy.
Oh, so she needs to go and do the wheeling.
She needs to go.
Well, you sit back and enjoy the Caravan.
Some have said that she's a far better driver off-road than me. And I don't deny it because I've seen some of the things that she's done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I go, yeah, I probably wouldn't have done that. If I did that, something would have got broken.
I just noticed that our black work boots are leaving marks on the floor. I'm sure it'll come off, but anyway, I've been done do the right thing and put a mat down for us. Taking mine off. Beautiful. Just working out which one you're going to go into, eh?
Yeah, so run the wiring through here.
Do you want your multimeter or your right?
I will go and grab it in just a sec.
I'll get it for you.
I don't know where it is because I used it earlier and it's in the workshop somewhere. It's not where it should be.
Not on the trailer still, is it? On the...
Through where all your existing wiring is.
It was always meant to be there.
It's supposed to be there. Let's feed that through like that. And we've got enough just to tap into where we want to tap into.
One of those, yeah.
Right.
She's done, eh?
That's it. Simple
Awesome,
as that.
mate.
So now you've got 2 permanently powered 12-volt accessory sockets.
Yeah. Cool. So obviously they're rated at 10, so you can't go putting
They're 10 amp, yeah, that's what,
between them.
yeah. That's what they're rated at, the sockets. Yeah. The wiring that's in there is actually 15 amp.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but so 10 amps should be enough to, if you just want to charge phones or something off of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it'll be a blanket.
Blanket.
Yeah, they're 8.
Yeah, 8 amp are they?
Yeah. Now, Dan, just give us a rundown. So we've moved over to the
van.
to
Yeah.
the Jayco Crosstrak. And what are your thoughts here? Are we doing the stability control?
Yeah, the anti-sway. So
Anti-sway, yeah.
there's a couple of brands out there now that are regularly fitted to any new Caravan, and I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure all vans from about 2016 onwards had to have anti-sway or an anti-sway device installed prior to their sale. So yeah, this has anti-sway on it, and I've got a lot of customers now that actually have opted to put anti-sway on their older vans as well.
Yeah.
Reason being is nearly all new vehicles nearly all vehicles from kind of the mid-2000s onwards have traction control, and if your vehicle wants to do one thing, the Caravan doesn't want to do anything. So this is not exactly traction control, but it's an anti-sway. So if you ever did, get into a bit of a pickle, the van's going to want to kind of stop itself from floating all over the road, just like your vehicle's going to try to do as well with your traction control. So I do believe there are some systems out there that actually work in conjunction with the vehicle's traction control, but I personally haven't ever seen any. And I imagine that's a very high-tech, sophisticated thing. Yeah. But generally speaking, these, you just simply run power to them. There's a little module with like a tilt switch or an accelerometer or something in there. I'm not 100% sure on exactly what's in them. I've never really pulled one apart to have a look.
As well.
Yeah, that's just to show, to tell you that your anti-sway is connected and operating. Yeah, but
So some people say then that if your anti-sway actually has to activate, you're pretty much in some serious kind of
that
situation, really, aren't you? Like you haven't packed your van properly, or
it's either
not right.
It's either you've got too much weight on the rear side of the axle, as in you haven't actually put the weight's always supposed to be between the axle and the drawbar, or the vast majority of your bulk should be over the axle, but you never want weight on the back end of your van. You always want the weight more so over the front, so it's on your drawbar.
Okay.
So there has been a few cases where people have had their vans loaded up and something inside has actually shifted, and the fair bit of weight has then moved to the back, and then a few kilometres down the road or whatever, they start to get a bit of movement, and they've realised that the anti-sway's either kicked in or they've felt something, got out, had a look inside, and everything's flown to the back.
Yeah, right.
So that's another good thing, is obviously a good tip is keep everything inside secure. Yeah. But anti-sway is a good thing. I say if you ever did get into a loose bit of loose section of road or around corners, and the van did get a bit of movement up, it's gonna help to keep it as poised on the road as possible.
Yeah, what you're doing today, Dan? What are you doing? Because you're
so
pull the wire out of there. And
basically, what it came with is this. This has already had the grey Anderson put on, which is what you've got on the back of your vehicle for charging the fans and the battery through your BCDC. So that's already been done. And what we've got set up here is a 12-pin socket. Now, the actual power for the anti-sway is integrated into this at the moment, and like I was saying in a previous video, we actually don't want that on yours. We want to be able to separate the anti-sway from your lights for the van, so we're just going to simply pull the wiring out for the anti-sway and put it into the red Anderson plug to attach it to the back of your vehicle. So it's simply just taking these wires out here and putting them to a red Anderson plug. Right, it's as simple as that.
And why is that?
Reason being is you don't want your anti-sway to be working whilst you're on some off-road tracks, because it can have the adverse effects and cause issues while driving. The van's trying to steady itself and the vehicle just wants to keep ploughing on forward, and you get two counteracting characteristics between the two. So when you're off-road, you just pull that red Anderson plug out, the anti-sway is then disconnected, so any little bumps, undulations, it's not going to throw the anti-sway into a wild fit, and you're going to have a bit more of a smoother ride. So yeah, very simple job, and this is the way I usually wire up everyone's vehicles and vans, is to actually have a red Anderson and for the anti-sway, and then
and I suppose
your 7
way
or your
do
12
is some kind of a switch too. Is that another option?
I wouldn't, just because of the rules and regulations around these.
Oh, okay.
You really do need to have a fixed circuit, and it has to be a 30 amps. I'm pretty sure they all specify it has to be a 30 amp circuit with a fuse, not a circuit breaker. Yeah, it has to be powered up the whole time that the vehicle is running with the van on the back. Yeah.
So guys, I don't know if Dan wants me to advertise this fact, but as you can see, he's working on my Caravan. He works on anything really, don't you?
Not anything. There's certain Nissans we don't know.
Oh, certain Nissans, was it?
Certain Nissans we don't know.
He probably doesn't want me to tell you this either, but he's given my motorbike a service as well, haven't you? You've done a bit of work on that too.
Wiring and stuff.
Yeah. He's a bit of an all-rounder. But Prado's his best vehicle that he likes working on. Hey, Dan. So yeah, he does do a bit of work on your Caravan only if you're towing it with a Prado, isn't that right?
Something like that. We've got to limit the numbers somehow.
Yeah. And if you've got a Jeep, definitely don't come here, eh? Is that right?
Definitely not. I wouldn't recommend it.
Just as we're about to go for a test drive, and you were going to work out the Red Arc Tow Pro for me, we came across another little challenge in life. When you went to wire up the anti-sway. What's going on, mate? What's happened? We had to ring Jayco. We looked up their wiring diagram, and it's a bit of a Well, how would you say it, Dan?
Well, I'm going to say that this is not the way I would wire it up. So they've actually used the reverse signal as the power for the anti-sway.
Yep.
So that means every single time you put the vehicle in reverse, anti-sway turns on, go back into drive, it turns off. It seems a common thing lately that reverse signal is actually being used as an auxiliary, as a constant power for a lot of trailer plugs. And yeah, I don't do it that way because I don't assume that someone's going to tow the same thing all the time. So I actually wire pin number 2 on the vehicle to reverse. So you actually do have reverse lights operable. And then we use the larger auxiliary pins at the bottom for your anti-sway, but this is not the way it's been done at all. So we found out that this is actually going to the fridge and not powering up what we wanted it to do.
Which is weird because I've got a fridge in there that runs off the lithium battery.
Off the batteries. This is honestly in their wiring harnesses and actually does nothing.
So you've been doing this for a long time, Dan. So what are your thoughts on that matter as a qualified auto Sparky?
It's just my rule that I don't use reverse as an auxiliary power. I don't use it. I wire it to reverse, and then I use one of the auxiliary pins, either like pin 8 or pin 9, as the actual power for the anti-sway. If I'm going to wire it through a plug, or like I say, what we're doing is putting it through your red Anderson. So that's all right. It's an easy fix. We just needed to know why we had no power going to the anti-sway, and we found out that it's actually, technically, this is going to be reverse. So yeah, that's fine.
Anyone else thinking about doing the same thing, they're going to run into this problem as well.
Well, if your reverse pin on your vehicle isn't actually wired directly to 12 volts, your anti-sway is not going to work.
Not going to work.
No.
Yep. So you're back to the drawing board again.
Yeah.
Doing the wires again. After all that one.
After all that, that's all right. We'll get it done.
Here we are. Things don't always go to plan. Hey, Dan. So we had a few issues with the sway. I always get confused.
We found out the anti-sway actually hasn't even been wired up.
Yeah.
Which is super interesting.
So that's a warranty job. So I've got to get that sorted now. After poor old Dan, he's spent quite a bit of time working out
why it's not working.
Checking diagrams. Checking diagrams at Jayco and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
And then as I go to drive, I thought, man, she's feeling a bit weird. So with the new knuckle put in, have a look at my wheel alignment. She's that's going to be an interesting drive.
We knew that was going to be the case, but I didn't realise it was going to be quite that bad.
She's way out, eh? But lucky I got into Goodyear down near Grand Central in Toowoomba, so it's going to be an emergency wheel alignment to be done. So I'm dropping the Caravan, leaving it in Dan's good hands. Look at that. Look how much that wheel's out turned compared to that one. So I'll leave the Caravan with Dan. You look after it, mate.
Like I say, I haven't got a tow bar, so
yeah,
I can't run away with it.
You might want to have a snooze in there.
Yeah.
So I'll go get that done and I'll come back and get the Caravan.
Okay.
So
I'll be here. I've still got to do work on my car.
So as always, mate, mechanical and electrical work always takes a bit longer than you first think. It was all going to plan, wasn't it? Everything else got done properly. All good.
Everything else was good.
Until it went to this.
No fault of our own, though, is the
No,
thing.
I know, that's the only thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I'll go and get this done, mate, and I'll
I'll
see when I pick up the Caravan.
When you get back.
Yeah, all
With
right.
some straight wheels.
Might need a beer by then, mate.
Maybe.
See ya. Well, life doesn't come without its dramas, does it? This is going to be a very interesting drive because when I have my wheel straight, it keeps wanting to go to the left. So it's going to be a very slow and easy ride into town to get this done. So wish me luck, guys. Yeah. Anyway, I'm out onto the main road and hopefully I'll get there okay. Whoops, she's all over the place. Yep, anyway, I'll have to take it easy. I'll see you later, guys. I'll see you in a minute. So check out this right wheel. It's pointing outwards. And the left one's straight. So these good guys at Goodyear, they're going to sort me out. Look at that, eh? There's a little bit skew whiff there. Well, wheel alignment's done. Look at that, eh? I think she's looking a bit better than when I brought it in here. At least that wheel's straight. And this wheel's straight. That's what we want. But they've been having a bit of a look underneath and apparently got a bit of a leak in the transfer case, so I'll have to have a look at that. And yeah, I've got a bit of a leak in the EGR side of things, so we already know about that. But anyway, the wheels are straight, so that's the main thing. So I've got a few little maintenance things to attend to with the Prado now. So anyway, got to go back and pick up that Caravan. Might be able to offer Dan a beer, I reckon. What a day it's been.